Coach Deborah has a passion and purpose to assist young men, ages 15 to 24, to overcome obstacles and build their best lives. She wants to see every young man live out their potential. She has a master's degree in human services counseling, with a major in life coaching. More importantly, she is the mother of 3 boys, who are exceptional, educated, professional men. Coach Deborah believes it is better to train early, rather than need to fix later. She utilizes basic principles and God-led concepts. Sometimes the only thing a young man has is their credibility or their name. The actions they take are based on the decisions they make. Those decisions align with their choices and result in consequences. Coach Deborah can assist you if you are lost, floundering, or confused. Embrace the help and start building your best life today.
Morning, good morning. How y'all doing today? How's everything going?
Good morning. All is well.
Good, good. Welcome to another edition of Coach Deborah Smith's Build Your Best Life conversation with the guys. We got a good one for you today. And, as always, we got the 2 experienced men that can give us a lot of insight and background to all the issues that young men are going through today, and give us their perspectives and their outlooks on what can be done and what should be done in relation to the issues that's going on. And today we're going to be talking about dealing with anxiety and depression. But before we get to that, I want to introduce the 2 distinguished young men that we'll be, talking, to today. And first, I want to start off with my man, Deacon Dan Smith. How you doing today, sir?
I'm doing great this morning. How are you this morning?
I'm hanging in there. You want to just tell us just a little bit about yourself, for the people that's joining in that probably never, watched, this channel,
Okay, no problem. I'm Deacon Dan Smith, married to the lovely, fabulous Coach Deborah D. Smith. I'm retired law enforcement after 40 years of service. Now I'm a businessman with 2 different businesses that I'm operating. But one thing about I'm a child of God, and I just love doing things. I'm the chairman of my deacon board at St. Paul Missionary Baptist Church under the direction of Bishop John E. Guns. And I just love working with the youth. I did it a lot while I was working. I'm still doing it around the church. So I'm just glad to be here this morning.
All right, thank you. Good stuff. Hey, how you doing there, Dr. Levette? How about you? How are things going with you? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, great morning. As always, I'm always elated to be part of this dynamic team of men as we spread the good news to young men. Of course, I am Dr. Joseph Levette. I'm married to the lovely Tony Levette. Of course, we have 3 children. We have 3 girls and 1 boy. We have 10 grandchildren.
Wow.
And we love them to death. We spend a lot of time with our children and grandchildren because we really believe in the family unit. Also, I'm 32 years retired Army.
Cool.
And then after that, I'm a chaplain. I was a chaplain for 3.5 years with hospice. And now I've transitioned over, and I'm now full-time chaplain working at a hospital and enjoying the different varieties and things that I get to see. And just like Deacon Dan, for years I've been involved with mentoring young men. Some of them from middle school all the way through high school. Some of them in college. Some in military. And then some, went astray. But through it all, I believe that we help the ones that we can help and do the best we can. And I believe it, but we do know that it works. Myself as well as Deacon Dan, and even I'm sure you, Coach Wilbon, we've seen how, we have impact. We can get 20 and we may impact only 15, but that's good enough for us. If we can just get 1, sometime that's good. So I'm excited to be here as always. Every week, every month, I'm excited. So I'm looking forward to our time together.
All right, great stuff, great stuff. First of all, my name is Coach Dr. Kevin Wilbon Sr., and I want to thank Coach Deborah Smith for having me here today to host this segment because what she's doing is beautiful. All the things that she's been doing over the years, this is something that's a great platform for any single women or even married couples to watch to help their young men grow and be successful. So first of all, I want to thank her for that. I am a athletic coach. I'm also a author of 4 books. I'm a military veteran, 24 years. I did logistics and arms room specialist, and I'm also an educator, motivational speaker. And I'm glad to be here as well with you guys because I learn a lot from you guys just by talking to you about your experiences and your life endeavors that you've been through. And this is something that I enjoy doing as well. I'm also a high school basketball and track coach, and I deal with a lot of kids. I've been coached over 1,000 kids in various sports. I have 3 sons. They're all almost 10 years apart, and so I feel like I know just a little bit about dealing with young men because I have 3 of them. One 37, the other 27. I got one going on 17. So they're all born in different what should I say? 10 years apart. I had one in the 80s, one in the 90s, and then one in the millennium. So things change over the years, and so does kids, and so does generations and stuff. So, I'm learning as I go along as well. Okay, now let's get to the what we're here to discuss, and that is dealing with anxiety and depression. We all know that depression, comes from, frequent sadness, tearfulness, crying, hopelessness, decreased interest in activities, inability to enjoy previously favorite activities, and a lot of times persistent boredom or low energy. So what I want to do today is to find out from you distinguished gentlemen, how to deal with the anxiety and depression, for these young men. So my first question to you all is, young males are among the high statistics of individuals committing suicide. What are some of the driving factors leading to suicide? Now, I'm going to start off with you, Dr. Levette. What are the driving factors that lead to suicide amongst young males?
Well, most of the things that I've seen in dealing with young men that lead to suicide, probably number one would probably be bullying. They get picked on a lot in school, and they don't know how to deal with it. They don't want to go to nobody for fear. So bullying is like definitely probably a number one with me. Then the other one after that is just total low self-esteem. A lot of times we think when we hear low self-esteem that mostly apply to females, but low self-esteem is a very high thing in males too, in young males, and particularly young men. And it's even more common now that they have lower self-esteem if they can't play sports, or they, all they know how to do is do video games. They can't play sports, but they get to school, they develop a low self-esteem because they can't go and do what the other boys are doing. So then that would lead to bullying sometimes because they get picked on because they can't play sports. But all I can do is play video. I can beat you in video games, but I don't know how to play basketball. I don't care to play football or soccer or anything like that. So those would be, I would say those 2 things, bullying and low self-esteem would be the kind of the top 2 that I see.
Okay, yeah, thank you for that. Okay, Deacon Dan, what are some of the driving factors that lead to suicide amongst these young males?
One thing about suicide is extremely is a complex, and most cases, multiple factors combine to push someone to take their own life. But I know one of them is relationship problems. I mean, you hear so much about suicide with a guy couldn't have this young lady. He takes her life and then take his life.
Wow.
So that's a problem. Instead of being self-motivated and realizing that it wasn't to be. You can have a relationship. If she's not interested, She might be the love of your life. You got to learn how to let it go.
That's right.
But one of the biggest problems, relationship problems. I've seen another one, bereavements rather, the loss of a loved one. Somebody can't deal with the loss of a loved one, like a mother, or brother, or something like that. We haven't seen it quite often, where, after the parent died or a brother died or something in that nature, they go ahead and take their own life.
Wow.
So, that's one of the problems. And I guess another one is drugs or alcohol misuse. That, I guess they say, like the drugs fry your brains.
Right.
And so you don't have nothing in dealing with life. You just say to yourself, I'm tired of life. Life is too hard. I don't want to, live no more. So you go in there and take your own life. Wow. So that's another one. And I got another one here that lack of purpose.
Right.
And I think that's I don't say I can say it. It's just something that somebody don't realize what life is all about.
Yeah.
Because there's God, I'll go back and look at it. This is why I say religious. So God made us for a purpose.
Right.
Each one of us got a purpose. And all our purposes are different. We got all these millions and millions of people in the world, and we got a different purpose. So, if you got lack of purpose and you just don't want to be here anymore, and you just opt out to take your own life. So that's why I say it's extremely complex, suicide.
Right.
So, and the last one I'm looking at, neglect or lack of support. Some people they have to have that support. If they don't have no support, then here you go back to the same thing. Well, don't nobody support me. I'm out here by myself. So, I just can't do it. I just can't do it. And my last one is academic pressure.
Right.
Where, you look at you go into school and you see these kids are selling and your parents are pushing you to sell. Well, you can do better and sell, but instead of pushing them that way, you should be able to ask them, how can I help you? So in order for you to sell. But if you leave them out there hanging by themselves, there's gonna be some problems. So those are a few of the things I have. I have some more, but those are a few that I'll talk about.
Oh, those are excellent. Those are definitely some excellent points that you just brought home. I also want to say, most people commit suicide have a diagnosable mental disorder, and the most commonly is depressive disorder or substance use disorder. Also, most people that commit suicide, they're most commonly depressed, and with that substance abuse, that's something that we have to, as parents and as mentors, have to look in very, very closely, because what seems like it's great may not be. You can't tell what's going on with somebody in their life. They can be happy-go-lucky in front of you, and then right behind closed doors, they're doing, those things to, help their depression or, to feed their depression. So, we have to be very wary, and we have to also, be looking at our kids or looking at the people that, that we're dealing with, because, you never know what's going on in somebody's life.
Right. I had one incident while working a young man. He wanted to commit suicide. He was below an overpass. And I got called out, and so I was talking to him. This guy had an old rusty spike. He said he finna kill himself. So, I identified what he was doing. And he was saying that, all his friends, when he get his check, he go buy marijuana. And he go out there and smoke it up. He got friends when he has money. But when he don't have no money, he don't have friends. This young man, I found out, I saw he had a low cut, and I saw a scar where he had surgery. He said he got shot, he had got shot in the head once.
Right.
So, and then he was just holding it in his heart, in his chest. So after talking to him a while, I said, this guy don't want to commit suicide. I told him, I said, tell you what, that's a rusty spike. That's not going to go into your body. I said, won't you, there's a train coming down the track. I could take you up over the overhead bridge and put you out, let you, there's cars coming across there. You go out there and stand in front of one of them. And I told him that, and then I said, or you give me the spike, we come on, we go get you some help. So he in turn gave me the spike to get some help.
Wow.
So, it's just, things like that. If you got to be prepared when when incidents or you see somebody in trouble.
Yeah. Most definitely. Okay. Do you believe low self-esteem is the cause of anxiety and depression? I know, excuse me, that Dr. Levette harped on a little bit about the anxiety and, and the low, self-esteem. But let's go just a little bit more deeper into it. Do you feel that that's one of the major contributors of suicide, being depressed because of the low anxiety and the high depression? I'm gonna go with you again, Deacon Dan. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I feel it is because low self-esteem is it affects statistically, it affects a student quality of life. That's what I'm looking at. Self-esteem can be thought of as a overall opinion or evaluation that we have of ourselves. So we have a low self-esteem, then we got to get some help. We got to get something, because that means we're really is not loving life. So yes, I agree with that. I agree with that. Self-esteem is something that we got to do with. And with teenagers, self-esteem may be more prominent to cause anxiety and depression.
Okay, good stuff. Okay, Dr. Levette, you want to hop in just a little bit on that?
Yes, I agree. Absolutely, it does. Low self-esteem is a cause of anxiety and depression. And when we look at it, a lot of times there are things that we can recognize to know when people's self-esteem is low. One is you listen how they talk about themselves. They always put themselves down. They never look for nothing positive about themselves. They compare themselves to other people, and they're always on the bottom of however they are compared to other person. Like, they got better clothes than I have. They got better shoes than I have. They make better grades than I do. He got a prettier girlfriend than I do, whatever. Those are the things they start looking at. And then one of the key things is that we can notice about them is they become withdrawn. When someone has low self-esteem, they withdraw from a lot of things. Those are the things, and that's where we gotta, as adults, we gotta be very we have to be very aware of, because if we're not aware of it, that's what sometimes leads to suicide. That low self-esteem is there. They become withdrawn. They don't want to deal with nobody. They don't even want to deal with their parents or their family. They just want to go in their room and do nothing or whatever, So yes, it is that low self-esteem does cause anxiety and depression. And unfortunately, sometimes by the time it's caught, either a suicide gesture has been made or suicide has been carried out. Because boys, we have that knack of keeping things in. We that toughness in us and pride. We keep things in, so we don't. That's one of the things too that lead to our low self-esteem. So we don't confide in anybody. We keep it to ourselves. So then it just weigh on us, and that's where the depression and the anxiety comes in. And then that leads to the ultimate suicide.
Okay, thank you for that. And and I also feel that as parents and as mentors, that when we do talk to them in regards to if they feel like they fail or they can't do one thing, we need to sit down and talk to them and let them know there's other things that could be done, that it doesn't have to necessarily be exactly what everybody else is doing, that you can be greater in other things versus what everybody else is doing, and to let them know that you do matter, that, everybody is not going to succeed at what they're trying to do. So go another avenue, go another route.
Yeah.
And become great in that. You have a purpose here on this earth, and your life does matter, and it means a whole lot, and if we can sit down and be able to, just like you said, Dr. Levette, be able to catch it before the act is carried out, we can make a difference. And we be able to save somebody's life. So that's something that's very important and something that we have to try to figure out and try to find out. And it's very hard. It's not easy to detect, that somebody is going through something. It's very, very hard. But there are some signs that can be, seen that we need to, be able, to catch it at the time that it's out there. So, also I wanted to say, what are the leading causes of why 70% of all the suicides are men? What are the leading causes of 70% of suicides, are men? What do you think about that, Deacon Dan?
I did a little studying, and I look back, and they say in 2020, believe it or not, 69% of that was white males.
Wow.
So, the other 1% was, other nationalities. But it has increased because you're seeing more and more non-white males are committing suicide.
Right.
And I think, men still buy into the stigma that they should be strong enough to handle things on their own.
Right.
And instead of them, men delay in seeking, I would look at it, men delay in seeking health care. A lot of them say, hey, I don't want to go to the doctor,
Yep.
They ignore the symptoms of illness, and then they hold back information. So I think, they do need to do this in order to eliminate that, because when you get critically ill, you as another partner, okay, hey, doctor, give me so long, so I'm just gonna take my life. I got enough of this.
Right.
And that done been shown so many times, and I read about it so many times. So I think that's one of the things that, you got to be able to talk. And if you got a problem, you got to be able to seek help. And that's not just sit around and do nothing.
Right. Okay. All right, Dr. Levette, what are the leading causes of why 70% of all suicides are men?
Well, I would tell you this. This is what I would submit to people, because another, and Deacon Dan talked about looking and researching and doing study. One of the things that I've found in looking at different researches and studies is that a lot of reason that men are becoming more suicidal, more suicides are carried out by men. A lot of it is now dealing with lifestyle. You got a lot of boys that are homosexual that they commit suicide because of the way they treat it, they don't see no way out. And when you look at that, that's a big reason. Outside of the bullying and all of that, the low self-esteem, those things, but it is being common. It's common now, particularly among African-American males, that a lot of them that commit suicide are those that are homosexual males. And that is because they've chosen a lifestyle that causes them to be picked on, that causes them to be talked about really bad, or they get bullied, and even in that, and they get, so that's a big part of it. That's a big part of it.
Wow. Indeed. And that seemed to be true, because if you look at the news, every time you turn to something on, they're always talking about, what's going on with the trans world and the whole 9 yards, and people killing them, and, like you said, getting bullied in school and the whole 9 yards. So, yeah, that is seems to be happening a whole lot. Okay. All right. Do you guys believe the generational parenting that taught young men not to express their emotions lead to this increase in depression and anxiety? Do you believe generational parenting that's taught young men not to express their emotions led to this increase in depression and anxiety? And I'm gonna go right back to you, Dr. Levette. Do you believe that? Do you believe it's generational parenting that taught them that?
I think it's possible. I don't think it's always the case. I think a lot of it is that, you know, boys, these young men, they keep things bottled up, and and eventually either they explode or they go into depression. It's one of it can go. They two extremes. They usually will go to one of each of one of those extremes. But I don't think so. I mean, as far as generational parenting, and I know sometimes even as men, we have taught our boys, be tough, suck it up, don't cry. We teach them all of that stuff. And whenever sometimes they can't get into real life emotions or be able to get in contact with their own real life emotion, if something bothering them, they should be able to come to us and cry about it. When we should be able to not say, "Oh, stop that crying. You a man. You need to be a man." And that right there I think, and I know from our growing up, because I've heard that I fell down and scraped my whole half of my leg up. And I get up and one of my uncles or somebody be like, "Oh, you better not cry. You tough. Get back out there. Go get back out there and put on that field and play football. You be done hurt your leg, your arm, everything." But sometimes that has led to that. But I also think a lot of it is just that them keeping up things bottled up. I think them when boys keep things bottled up, that leads to a lot of increased mental health issues, because then they just get out of touch with society and with life whenever they bottle things up, because now they get to a point where they just thinking, well, whatever way they thinking in their head, that's the way they thinking. And so we have to combat that by, as we done said, several of us have said already, sitting down and talking to them, finding out where they are. And then we got to be able to get them help. We can't we need to get them professional mental counseling and stop hiding behind the fact he don't need that. And then we need to take them to church and let them be prayed for. Because they need some prayer in their life too. That's primarily. And then along with the professional counseling and prayer and teaching them more of a godly way to live. And I think that's where you can take that generational stigma off of us.
Okay, Deacon Dan, how about you? Do you believe generational parenting taught our young men not to express their emotions?
Yeah, and somewhat, but the parenting may appear to be a personal matter. If a parent had the right to decide how to raise their child, but nevertheless, research considers its most important public health since facing our society. Poor parenting has a serious impact not only the child but also on society as a whole. Mm-hmm. So what I'm saying is physically, poor parenting such as child abuse, which includes physical abuse, emotional abuse, or emotional neglect in childhood, can harm a child and put them on other dangerous situations. Psychologically, bad parenting skills lead to children development and mental problems. The functioning parent can cause two major mental health issues: internalizing problems such as depression, anxiety, and then externalizing problems such as aggression and violence. So in doing so, you don't tell me how to raise my child. You can put so much pressure on the child that you can push him right into depression.
Yep.
Exactly. So that's something that in parenting your child, sure, you're gonna use the Bible says don't spare the rod. You got to take it to a certain point, because you got some being a law enforcement, I've seen some over abusive parents.
Right.
Yeah. Right. These young men just come out and say, "Hey, I'm gonna take my life." We had a situation where I think about 4 or 5 officers around. Young man came out 14, 15 years old, wanted to told take him to jail because he wanted to kill himself. Wow. So what you do at a point there? So you go back and look at the parent come out, losing all this, bad language, cursing or whatever. But so that was like a parenting. She they didn't know how to raise their child.
Right.
And that can push a child into some bad issues. Depression, especially depression, anxiety. Because if you keep doing a child like that, he's not gonna have that. Going back to self-esteem, he's not gonna have no self-esteem. He's not gonna know what he wants to do. He's gonna feel like he's nothing. So that generational parenting can cause emotions and that lead to depression and anxiety. It's there.
Right.
It's there. It's present.
Right. Well, if you look at that word depression, just look at the word. It got press in there. When you're pressing somebody and pushing, then that's a lot. And that's one of the reasons why that word depression is so major, because pressure is not good. I don't care what it is. Pressure is not good. Now, do you crack under pressure? That's what everybody says. You look at the sports aspect at it, okay? Are you good under pressure or anything like that? That's totally different. But then when you're pushing somebody to do something and trying to get them to be what you want them to be, or if it's not good enough for you, you're putting them in a situation, to pressure them to do that. And that leads to depression. So my thing is, for parents, mentors, or anybody that's out there, don't pressure anyone to do anything. Let nature take its course. Let them do whatever's need to be done. And if it's not for them, then they can go to something else. But pressure leads to depression. That's how I feel about it when it comes to depression. Okay. What sociological issues are leading to an increase in mental health issues? Is it lack of knowledge? Is it the cultural myth? Or is it embarrassment? What sociological issues are leading to an increase in mental health issues? I'm going to start with you, Deacon Dan.
Well, I think one is poor and unequal education. We need to be educated about different things. And if you don't seek it, if you don't try to find it, if you think you know everything, then, and you know nothing, so where do you go from there? Childhood abuse, trauma, or neglect is another one. So in childhood abuse, trauma, and neglect, so there's another problem right there. These are some of the social issues.
Okay.
And social isolation, or loneliness. You got a lot of kids, young men that if they're not, I guess what you want to say, in with the boys, or in with the group, then they're gonna be isolated. Nobody won't be around them. And they're gonna have problems dealing with that. Until you got one person in that group, they're going, wise up, oh man, we can't do this fella like this. Let's bring him in there, let's talk to him. Because we are hurting him, and he don't know how to deal with it. And another one is social disadvantage, poverty, where they, poor, or, and stuff like that. So that's a big difference.
Okay.
Because if a child, might want things and he see other males that have things, so they're gonna cause a big problem. It really will.
Okay. All right, Dr. Levette, what societal issues leading to an increase in mental health issues? Lack of knowledge, cultural myth, or embarrassment?
I'm a go on the limb to say all three.
Okay.
All three of them can, because when he's talking about knowledge, whenever people are not taught well, if they're not taught well in the environment that they were raised in, they suffer from a lack of knowledge. The Bible even teaches us that people perish from a lack of knowledge. And so when they don't have the knowledge that they need, even from childhood going into teenage and adulthood, they don't have the knowledge, then that's a sociology type issue. And then as it relates to cultural myths is, a lot of times it's things of fitting in with the in crowd. You're trying to fit in thinking that if I fit in with the in crowd, I'm gonna be famous, I'm gonna be good, I'm gonna be, important.
Right.
And so that's a myth. I mean, that's a myth that you don't have to be with the in crowd. That's the party crowd and the violent crowd, or even, let's go deeper, the gang crowd.
Right.
You don't have to be part of those to be somebody special.
That's
You don't
right.
have to be part of them to be somebody important. And then the third thing I would say when it comes to embarrassment, embarrassment comes as a result of literacy.
Right.
You have a lot of kids who are they are illiterate, and people sometimes wash it off and be like, sometimes parents are in denial. Most of the time they're in denial. No, ain't nothing wrong with him. He know that stuff. He just don't know. He just won't do it. He know it. He know that's that math, that teacher teaching, but he won't do it. And so that is an embarrassment, they're not going to ask for help, because to ask for help means to other kids that they're dumb.
Right.
They're stupid, and that's what they're going to get called. So they hide their illiteracy. And if we as parents or adults that have, our nieces and nephews and all of that, if we don't identify literacy and help them to where they can, they can seek the help they need to get back on course to where they should be at their age appropriate grade, then, that's an embarrassment for them. And then when you talk about all of this stuff that myself, Deacon Dan just mentioned, all of that stuff eventually is what leads to anxiety, which leads to depression, which can further lead to suicide.
Definitely well put. Definitely well put. Everything that you and Deacon Dan just put out is definitely something that's major, something that needs to be looked at, something that needs to be talked about amongst our, young men and women, not just men, but women as well. And, you guys dealing with anxiety and depression, that's one of those subjects that's very, very near and dear to a lot of people's heart, because I'm sure a lot of people out there have either went through that or know someone that has went through anxiety and depression, So I'm going to say, you guys, thank y'all for everything that y'all just put out. It's very, very important. We need more guys like you out there, putting this stuff out to people, and hopefully everybody that's been watching today, will get something out of what you and Deacon Dan, have, put out. So my closing thoughts, what advice would you give young men to minimize stressors that may lead to anxiety and depression, and that will benefit them to drive to build their best life? What advice would you give young men to minimize stresses that may lead to anxiety and depression? And I'm going to go with you first, Dr. Levesque.
Okay, I would say first, it's okay to seek help. You got to know that it's okay to seek help. You can't just continue on in what you're feeling. You have to seek help, because help is the start of your recovery. It's the start of your getting back to where you're back to your normal self, or back to sense of normalcy. It starts with help, and you got to help ask for it, because sometimes not everybody will recognize it. Because depression, you may be a quiet child, but depression may get missed because you're a normal quiet child. But that's why you got, as that young man or that young woman, you got to go to someone and say, I need to talk, I need help. So it's okay to ask for help. The other thing is, you got to confide in a mentor. Somebody, when I say mentor, I mean someone you trust. You got to really confide in them and really tell them exactly what you're feeling inside. Don't hide nothing. And then the mentor, you got to make sure you hear and you listen to what they have to say. Just sit and listen. Don't really try to offer a lot at that moment. Just listen and let them pour out their heart to you. And then be integrous about what they tell you. Be integrous to that. and hold what you need to hold. You know, it might be you might be the uncle, and it may be some things you need to share with their mom, but then it's some things you may not need to share with them. But it's things that you're going to help them get past and help them handle.
Excellent.
Because if they're dealing with, let's say they tinkering on the brink of becoming homosexual, and they come to you, and you go to their mama, then it's going to turn into something different.
That's
so
right.
You have to be able, from a manly, godly way, even explain to them why God made them to be a man, you know, and why they are a man. You are a man, and this is the way you're supposed to be. Then they need to hear that. They need to know why and what they're feeling and why they feeling that. And we need to be able to explain that to them and tell them, you know, that's not you leading you to that lifestyle.
Right.
You know, and so that, and then the last thing I would say is, and this gonna sound strange, but I'm gonna tell you this: it's very, very needed. And that is, read the Word of God. Every answer to every problem is in the Word of God. Wow. We have to teach them from the Word of God. You know, Deacon Dan was talking about earlier how we at church we did a lot with mentoring young men, but we use the godly method. It works. We teach them godly principles. They work. And if we teach them those things, that's going to minimize a lot of anxiety and stress they have in their life if they apply it. And that's why we have to be influencers. We have to influence them to be able to hear what we're saying and then apply it to their life. Because once they apply it, they're going to see that it works. And then that gives them a good head start in life, and it give them a good positive outlook on life. And as Deacon Dan said, it give them a good outlook on what their purpose is. So that would be my advice.
Great stuff. Great stuff. Great. Definitely a great synopsis, and something for anybody that's listening to please take heed to what Dr. Levette just said. You know, he hit all points, you know, when it comes to, you know, depression and anxiety and what to do. Read the Word of God. Read the Word of God. Okay, Deacon Dan Smith, your closing thoughts on the advice you'll give young men to minimize stressors that lead to anxiety and depression.
Before I do this closing thought, I see one comment that come up from Henry. He says, I suffer from anxiety, depression, and panic attacks for about 8 years since my mother died. I was traumatized and filled with such much grief. It got worse when my dad had a new family, so I was me and my brother. Having each other's back while growing, it got me depressed. I was completely dependent on alcohol and couldn't do anything useful with my life until I came across, Zad's Spores on Instagram. He suggested I microdose shrooms, and that has been one. And to Henry, you started on your way. You know, I read your comment and I see that you don't really like where your state of mind was, but you're on your way. And I think you just continue to do it. I hope something we said that might help you, but I feel like that if you continue to try, find a mentor. If you could text me, put your information in, I can give you a call and we could talk. And a lot of times if we don't do nothing but pray with you, if I pray for you every morning, or we pray with you there every morning, and you can get your way out of this because you have already started. So just continue what you're doing, and I'll see you get your way out of this. You and your brother. Now that new family your father had, don't take regrets against him. Work with him. And you might have some new, brothers or whatever. So you talk about it. Talk with you and your brother. You and your brother stay close and work things out because a better day is coming.
Most definitely.
Yeah. So my thought, to minimize the stress, you got to communicate is one of the biggest things. If you're going through with something, there's several people around. You really don't know, if you have a friend that you can talk with, in that nature, you can communicate with him, communicate with a professional that would cause you not to lead you to out of anxiety or depression, or lead you not getting into anxiety or depression. Right. But there's one of the things you do. Just keep in their faith. You got to keep your faith in God. If you don't believe him now, just keep learning him. Just keep asking God, help me. Yes. Even though you might not have faith in him now, but if you call on his name, he'll come. Yes, sir. Okay. So that's my thoughts. And don't forget, this is a good book. Coach Deborah, Build Your Best Life. I mean, it's got a lot of tips in there that will help you. So that is my closing thought. Thank you.
All right. I want to thank you guys again for being here and sharing your insights, your experience, your knowledge, your wisdom on what we discussed today, dealing with anxiety and depression. And I also want to thank Coach Deborah Smith for having us on every second Saturday of the month. Tune in. You will get a lot of pertinent information that can help you, help your loved ones, help the young men, young women, of today to move on into a positive direction. And just know, like Deacon Dan and Dr. Levette said, there's always a light at the end of that tunnel. You have to believe and you have to talk. And my advice on this before we click off is that please communicate. If you're feeling down, you're feeling out, and you just feel like, the walls are closing in on you, please go talk to someone. Don't take things into your own hand. Don't take matters into your own hand. Talk to someone. They may be able to come to your aid to help you, to relieve the stress, to relieve the anxiety, to release the pressure. But you have to communicate. That is a big thing. And for the mentors, please look for little signs. Look for some signs, Get that book. Make sure you get Coach Deborah Smith's book right there, Build Your Best Life, because it will definitely put you in the right direction and give you steps on how to get to where you need to be and what you need to do. He's holding it up right there. Dr. Levette got it right there. You can go on Amazon, to get that. And I know there's other book places online that you can get. Just put in Deborah D. Smith, Build Your Best Life, and get that book. I want to say thank you all for being here today. And for Deacon Dan Smith, Dr. Joseph Levette, I'm Coach Dr. Wilbon. We hope to see you again in December, second Saturday. Peace out. We love you. Take care of yourself. And so long.